Three, one. Hello and welcome to VCD Roundtable, episode number 42. It's actually a bit more than a year under Broadcom, and we wanted to spend today's session to talk a bit about what happened in the last year and what we are anticipating. Actually, in good faith of that, only for those who are watching the videos, I'm running this upside down because some people still believe that Broadcom turned the world upside down, and that's the reason why my video is the opposite way around. Matthias is still trying to keep everything to himself about that, but let's see how often we get him to laugh out very, very loudly. So, that being said, 1 year under Broadcom, I think the first few days or the first couple of weeks in the new year last year or in the new terms under Broadcom have been quite a bit of a surprise for many people. They had to learn a lot of things about what's going to change, what's going to stay the same. I would say by now, having two VMware Explorers behind us, we have a much better visibility into how Broadcom is going to work with customers and everything else in the future. We could see some things which were completely different than anticipated. Everybody was expecting that Hot would not necessarily go into community and direct customer communications that much. That at least during the conferences has changed, or at least has been complete opposite direction. He was at those the expert receptions. He spent a lot of time with the communities. So I think that's very good news. So he's actively listening to that. Um, Most of the customers have come over the initial shock already about what pricing has changed. I just actually, let's say, battled post on LinkedIn just the other day of people again saying it's 10 times as expensive. And then once I chased it up, it was like, yeah, it's only for one customer, very rare use case. So in the end, I think by now many customers have learned it's going to be the same. But before I continue to steal the thunder of everything, is like, what's your storylines for the first 12 months? Maybe Matthias can start.
Yeah, welcome from my side as well. So the first topic I would like to start with is what Broadcom massively improved over the last 12 months is the way of communication. In the beginning, we all struggled a bit with receiving needed information, finding the right people to talk to about certain topics. And from my perspective, that changed massively. Side effect, for example, that Hawk spends a lot of time in the communities, especially the expert in Barcelona. He had time to chat, to take pictures and stuff like this. So he's doing a great job around that. But the overall communication, regarding communication, it was, from my point of view, in Barcelona at VMware Explore, the partner keynote was a lot better because the communication was 100% clear, the messaging was clear. So I think that has improved a lot. Sasha, what is your first topic around 1 year of Broadcom?
It was a year full of challenges. So full of challenges for us as a VMware partner for the service providers, for the customers. We needed to learn a lot about how Broadcom are working in communication matters. So that means there is not longer a push so that anyone comes to you and tell you everything you need to do and what are your tasks. It's a really pull. So you need to go to the different portals, check the latest news, check the documents, check changes in the documents because there are also no change log. But after we have understood how to get this information, who are the key players in the complete Broadcom partner game, in the complete Broadcom game, it becomes better and better, and we can deliver really good information every time to our customers. So I would say it was a year of big learning, deep dives, not on the product side, more on the business side. and the partner level side. But looking forward, I think we are on a good stage to go forward.
I would maybe continue on that. It's like, and as this is VCD Roundtable, this is more around the service providers. I think the last year ended for many service providers with that shocking email everybody got, which basically said it's like you're out, and we will come back with something new. And by the way, Happy Christmas. Or no, they didn't even end with Happy Christmas and or Happy Early Days. They basically dropped the bomb and then all disappeared. I think that's the necessary cleanup for the providers, the necessary cleanup for the communities. That was clearly an absolute showcase of how communication can go absolutely wrong, and how and it took quite a bit of time until the service provider community kind of really came back out of that, because there was so much confusion about this. The whole forth and back on how many cores are going to be there, how many are not being there. I know how often we got beaten up for all the communications where we said it's like, this is how this is going to be. It's going to be 3,500, no negotiations, no nothing. And the whole storyline of people constantly providing, I would say, false hope to people and saying it's like, no, no, there will be exceptions. No, no, you can do this differently. In the end, actually, by now, as shown to many people, it's not what it is. It's basically Broadcom is very clear in their products. Yes, there were some slight changes, but overall, it's a bit of a different story. But let's come maybe to the more positive side. I mean, we have run several events with service providers, both in North America as well as in Europe. We have one more event coming up later this year, in 2 weeks' time, actually. Um, and what we see now at these events with speaking to the service providers is we are back into technical operations, and everybody is now learning and trying to understand it's like, how can we leverage VCF? How can we leverage all the products within the VCF suite? What are the advantages out of it? So people are no longer in the mood of, hey, what's going wrong, and whom to blame and all of that. People are actively working with it, trying to find value out of ARIA automation or VCF operations. People are trying to figure out how to leverage all of these new tools. And it's really a positive mood. Yes, there were a small set of providers who basically disappeared in the whole new schema. But overall, also a lot of these providers are actively talking about growth, about how to actually develop with it. And for some of them, I would even say it feels more like a relief, because there is no longer a discussion about which products they are going to use, because they have now the complete stack. There is no, yeah, we are maybe going to use operations, but it's another point per gigabyte. We really should reconsider this. And are we really going to use feature ABC, and are we going to use vSAN and stuff like that? That's no longer up for discussion. That is basically now, it's all there. So you leave it, or you use it or leave it. But think about it, your competitor is potentially going to use it. In the end, this is going to make it easier for customers as well, because customers can expect to get more or less a similar experience from a cloud service provider everywhere they go. Is AWS just announced in the last few days that they are going to switch and basically replace VMC with a VCF offering. Microsoft has already a VCF offering. None of them are yet 100% VCF, but they are getting there, similar to the service provider. So in the end, I think a lot of this is very good for the end customers, because finally they get what they ask for, an environment where the service provider looks the same as their on-prem environment. And that basically speaks to Hock's vision of it shouldn't matter for them where they run their private cloud, whether it's on-prem or somewhere at a service provider. And I think we can clearly see that this vision actually, my feeling is it actually becomes much faster reality than we anticipated. So I think all of that is a good thing. Matthias, what do you think about it?
Um, that's true. What I would like to add to that equation is regarding products and of course having public cloud offering, private cloud offering, and on all these different offerings streamlined is also the change in development. Well, so I'm referring to, like, in the past, we had like many different products, and VCF was just one of many different products trying to package vSphere, vSAN, and NSX. But now VCF is not just trying to package different independent products. VCF is the product itself. So what Broadcom achieved in the last year is how certain products integrate with each other, and also that the management of the stack is getting easier and better integrated. Still a long way to go. They just made the first few steps, but VMware had a bit of a mess in the product interoperabilities. Also, what VMware was just discussing, how could we, for example, merge or combine certain products like Cloud Director and ARIA Automation, that's the name. Again, so VMware was discussing year after year and just always came up with the result, that's impossible, it's impossible, so many challenges, blah, 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 blah. And within Broadcom, 1 year later, it's like, yes, we're doing it, we're in, it will take another year, but then it's done. So that's a complete different approach how to solve things. And according to the different approach, the messaging at VMware Explorer was very clear, because Hock said currently the development teams, at least as far as I understood the messaging, Hock said the development teams are currently mainly focusing on product integration and interoperability, and to make it work, instead of coming up with 2 new products every year, or additional features or other stuff. So I think that is a major improvement. And if they are able to keep the pace, I'm really looking forward into 2025, what the development teams are coming up with, and especially if the new integrations and interoperabilities are really working as expected. So I think that's a massive change what I saw in the last year. And I think it will, Broadcom, as far as I understand and what I've seen, is they will continue the pace they're currently working.
And I think that's a big and important point, because what we learned on the Explore, especially in Barcelona, on the meetings we had, that Broadcom is now running, and they will do changes, absolutely. But they will not stop running to do the changes. They will go forward every time. I think that's a really important part. Additional to that, it's important, we mentioned it before, they talk to the customers, they're talking to the service providers. And they are currently discussing also a lot of changes, maybe coming to the product, but on the other side, also thinking about options to change license models or add some more smaller license bundles. And that's important, because though so many from you as a service provider, we got the feedback, for example, distributed firewall is much too expensive, and we want to start with it, but we are currently not able to do it because it's too expensive to license a complete cluster of distributed firewall. And so they are thinking about options how they can solve it for service providers. So that's a really important part from my perspective, to go on to work together as a team, building a real partnership between Broadcom and the service providers.
That's a very interesting point you have made, because what we saw in the past, VMware was shy to make decisions. And with Broadcom, what we see a lot is they take decisions. And taking a decision is, even if it might be the wrong one, is a lot better instead of taking no decision or refusing taking a decision. And what Broadcom does, and Sasha, that's exactly what you said. They take a decision, a little bit of time later, they evaluate, was it the right decision? Yes or no? And if no, okay, we make another decision, but we continue to move forward instead of just stop, right? Everyone freezes. We need to reconsider. We need to do meetings. We need to do, I have no idea what to do. They make another decision and go, go, go. They keep moving forward. And that is very important.
I think that's a very good point. It comes back to the business to really take decisions fast, but also do not immediately challenge it, which is there is a lot being written about this in the last 1 or 2 years by different people. It's all about the fact to run a lean business, you need to actually take decisions. Do not immediately question the decision, but actually work with the decision for a while and then come back and reevaluate it and make the necessary adjustments, work with them for a while. What we had within VMware was basically a decision was taken sometimes after a long period. That's where I am with you, Matthias. And then once there was more or less backfire to it, instead of actually adjusting the decision to what they really wanted to do, in many cases, the only solution they came up with is making 4 or 5 new decisions so that there were just tons of alternate solutions, which created a lot of the mess which we are in. It's the same like instead of integrating all the products, is keeping all of the products individually so that everybody could actually take their decision by themselves what they wanted to do. What's the background of it? If you actually keep all the products standalone, that actually makes it more difficult for people to integrate them with each other because now you have tons of different versions. Then you have tons of different license editions. All of these different things make it complicated. So this is where we get the simplicity out of it. And as we have seen, it's like just the difference between Las Vegas and Barcelona is Las Vegas, basically, they collected a lot of feedback from the partners on certain things from the partner program, how we could actually drive adoption faster and things like that. And in Barcelona, we had solutions to that. And when we spoke to people in the back end, many people said it's like, yeah, some of these decisions were just made in the last couple of days. And we don't even know how we are executing them, but we think they are so important that we want to communicate them with customers and partners and then figure out the details as we go. And that's a different approach than VMware. And I think this is also in the current times something which applies to many other organizations as well. It's like you will not find the perfect solution for everybody, but trying to find it is going to just actually hold you back and make life complicated.
And it's always the same decision for everyone. There is no like side letter or something like that. It's one decision, and one decision affects all. And that's also a very fair approach.
Absolutely. Another big change coming with the Broadcom acquisition and the move from VMware to Broadcom is the changes in the support with level 1, level 2 support, especially for the service providers, so that the service providers need to take care about level 1, level 2 support. We had a lot of discussions with service providers. Yesterday, we had a service provider mentioned it, and he said clearly, we are not able to deliver level 1, level 2 support. And that's currently also a big challenge and a big change in the new model. So maybe we can, you can also give your ideas about that. Yeah, how we can go on, or what is your feedback from the customers, from the service providers?
I think when we look at these changes from a support perspective, it's people didn't really understand up until a couple of weeks or months ago what this new approach means, that there is no hand holding and everything else anymore from Broadcom, that you are basically in reality getting what you always had. It's like I heard a lot of complaints from service providers and saying it's like, hey, we don't get the support anymore, it's more complicated. But in reality, the whole discussion around what a service provider should do by themselves, even there in the past, it was always of the motion that the service provider should ideally support themselves and then just for expert support hand it over to VMware. It was just actually done differently, and that is what shocked then people. It's the same like many other of these changes where people, no one would ever do that, and they just actually executed it on this at the same point in time. That's a different story. And yeah, we just get a comment in from someone who says it's like, yeah, in certain areas, VMware was not able to deliver level 1 and sub 2 support on their own. Um, True. Um, certainly wouldn't argue that. It heavily always depended on which time zone, which time you reached, whom you reached. But I think that's a common scenario for many vendors. But when we look at all of this is, and this is affecting enterprise customers as well, because over there, level 1 and level 2 support in many cases is now being done by the distribution and will partially be handed back to partners. That's no longer being done by Broadcom either. So overall, I think this is going to be a change which is going to be making a few more differences. But not only the support things have changed. The other thing, I covered that in the beginning already. We are back in running events or trainings with service providers. We ran 2 architecture think tanks this year. We already ran 3 or so challenge days. We have one more coming up on the 10th and 11th of December together with Insight in Phoenix. However, even if you're not using Insight as a CCM, you're more than welcome to join that one. And we see the demand for these hands-on enablements and stuff like that, which are truly made for the service providers. So even though the format has changed and people now have to pay a small amount to actually attend these in comparison to VMware paying for them, the service providers really feedback is all the time the same. They need these hands-on enablements, they need these discussions, so that in the end they can be sure that they know how to utilize the product. And it's so many discussions around VCF, NSX usage, still V2T migrations, all of these things. And so also, if you missed out these events for this year, we have already published the schedule for 2025. So if you already want to bookmark your schedule for 2025, now is the perfect time. Not only that, we have Black Friday week for the first time in Condivision Journey. So if Matthias is now completely confused, I'm not only actually upside down, we now
No,
even have
no,
Black
believe
Friday.
it or not, I saw it. It was just like, no way.
Yes, we are now really in the US. However, we just learned yesterday from someone here in Dubai that it's actually even bigger here. It's basically they do Black Friday more or less starting this week until more or less Christmas. Um, Everything is bigger in Dubai. Even Black Friday is bigger. Um, but yeah, so there is an additional discount if you want to use that. It's really important for service providers, I think now. It's not only about the technical enablement, but also beside the technical enablement, the network between the service providers to really exchange it. And the fun part out of it is we always have, at least in all of the last events, we always had a mixture from Pinnacle, over Premier, over standalone partners, so white label partners, all of them there. And but in the end, after the first shock, feedback is also for most of them, at least I would say neutral to positive now. There is really not that much hard feedback in it. So yeah, I think that's an important point. So don't miss out on our Black Friday sale. No, but anything else which we would say is relevant for service providers, which has changed in the last 12 months is, I mean, the new structure being Pinnacle, Premier, and white label, which I think the white label thing is actually going to be good for many of the smaller service providers, because the Premier ones are, my feeling is, most likely are going to be those who are providing support and development and marketing and everything else together for their sub CSPs. I think those are in better hands than they were before, because many of these smaller providers never got any management, partner management, or anything else. So, for example, when I look at our service providers, we do webinars now with them talking about what happened at Explore for those who didn't attend Explore, and a lot of other things. So, some of these VMware never did. They only did that for the large service providers. So, I think that's also a good a good part to have this multi-tier model on. I'm looking to the side, to the other side, to see if Sasha has anything to add.
No, I think that's it. So Black Friday discount is much better than Fabian's 0% discount from the from the Explorer. So we are on the lucky side now. And yeah, take a look.
So
That's
you're
very
referring to on Sasha's side, the grass is always greener.
absolutely. No, that was really funny with the 0% discount if you meet Fabian at the Explorer. So yeah, but I think
Yeah.
yeah, feedback from Challenge Days was really good. We opened the eyes again when we discussed the usage of or the difference between distributed and gateway firewall and how dynamic routing impacts firewall rules in NSXT. That was again a real eye opener for a lot of attendees. So every time an interesting story.
Right, so famous last words. If I think we will have another VCD roundtable before Christmas, so this is not the last one of the year. So what I'm looking forward into Christmas and the next year, because that's 1 year of Broadcom, I really hope that Broadcom will keep up the pace in development and integrate products to have a more stable and more useful infrastructure next year. And if they keep up with the communication and the lessons learned in terms of communication this year, we will have a lot of great news properly communicate next year. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. There was a long journey until now, and I think the journey moving forward, and we will take a look for the next changes. I think they review a lot of parts they have changed now and will adjust a lot of parts in the future. So looking forward, VCF9, VCF9.1, opportunities, but also challenges, especially for service providers. But I think we will go the way and yeah, support you on the journey.
Great. Yeah. So final words. Yes, we will have one more episode, Matthias. That's true. It's going to be the ho 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 edition. Um, and I need to get him to laugh out loud. No, so yes, we will have a Christmas edition. Your reindeer costume is going to come to Vienna soon, Matthias. So uh, that we get you all dressed up for that one. And no, we are going to do that after we are done in with the last challenge days. Most likely, we might even do that episode from Palo Alto. I think this evening. Not 100% sure. So it might be from the VMware campus again. Our last visit for the year, visiting and celebrating with Broadcom a 1 year joint work. And yeah, that being said, I would say thank you all for listening in, whether it's the podcast or if you want to see me up and down, then you need to actually watch out for the video edition. And we will get you one more episode before year end, which is going to be technical again, with all the feedback from the challenge days, the latest and greatest around VCF, I'm pretty sure, because by then we know more from the Broadcom mothership. So see you all at the next roundtable.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye. Take care.